Hey guys, Andy from Andy Goblin Fishing. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today's video we're going to talk a little bit about jig fishing, specifically flipping and pitching a jig. I've been jig fishing, my goodness, since the early 80s. Uh, my system's a little bit different than some of the other people. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube of everybody talking about jig fishing. I keep mine kind of simple. I use basically two sizes of jigs, basically a 3/8 ounce and a ½ ounce, depending on how fast I want the bait to fall. I do that by the chunk type trailers. As you can see, that's a big chunk trailer there. Want to fall a little faster, of course I go to like old size 11. I do use the little kicking tails on it if I want it threaded up on to make a shorter jig. Also, use some of the little crawls on my jigs. So I keep mine pretty simple. The modifications I do to my jigs are not really that much. I trim the skirt so I have a nice flared out skirt that's kind of uneven. And I do like to trim my weed guard. It seems to make me get a little bit better hook set. So that's really about the only two jigs I use. Like I say, this is just a big ½ ounce type jig. It's got a good hook keeper on it down here. The other jig head that I use is generally like the, this is a Jewel Bait Company J-Lock jig, which you can see has the lock here to when I thread a trailer on. This is one of my combinations I like in real dirty water. It's a living rubber jig. It's blue, purple, and black. And I love, just threading you one of the Zoom trailers on it, one of the super chunks here. Just thread it up on. Take your J-lock. Shove it down in around your hook. That way it holds it down. It's a pretty compact looking jig compared to, like this is a black, brown, and an orange living rubber type jig too. I do like the living rubber, especially in the spring. It gives it a lot of action to it. Of course, there again, just put your pork chunk on it. And when you look at your two jigs, profile wise, this here's quite a bigger profile. I like that in the dirtier water, colder water. Seems to work real well that way. Like the J-Lock jig and the other type of jig, I do trim the weed guard like I said, trim the skirt back. That's the good thing about skirts on jigs. I still use the vinyl type. This is a J-Lock with a vinyl. As you can see, if you put the skirt on and you trim it, you get really good flare on it, which seems to make the fish bite a lot better. It pulsates through the water. It's uneven. It's just not very uniform. It seems like they bite that type of jig, really well. Like I say, if I want to make this bait go faster, I'll just go down to a smaller chunk on it. If I want the bait to fall faster. If I want it to fall slower, I go to a big chunk. If I want it to fall slower than that, I go to something like, here's one in a 3/8 and go to a big chunk on it. And it seems to slow it down. I generally flip my baits and pitch my baits on just a regular flipping stick. This is a 7' 6" extra heavy fast impulse rod. I flip 20-25 pound test fluorocarbon line. I will go to braid if I'm in real heavy cover or a lot of grass. It seems like the braid cuts through that good, or the braid cuts really good through a lot of heavy cover. But if I'm just flipping and pitching down the bank and sparse cover and stumps and that type stuff, I'd rather flip with fluorocarbon. I use generally, like I say, 20-25 pound test line. Also use just a regular. This is a like I say, an extra heavy with a fast tip to it. I do use just a regular heavy with the fast tip. I like the fast tip. It seems to control the fish a little bit better. So that's my spiel on jigs. I'm pretty simple. I do use the living rubber skirts. I still use the vinyl type skirts. Whichever you prefer. I like the old rubber skirts. It seems like that. I know a lot of guys are into the hand tying, and that's fine too. I'm doing mine. This one here has a collar on it. As you can tell, it still looks like it's a hand tied skirt. So if you buy real good collars and put their jigs up together on the collar of it, it seems to work pretty well. But if you want to hand tie them, you know, more power to you. Works great too. So that's about my spiel on jigs. I've caught a lot of fish over the years. I've been doing this a long time fishing a jig. I fish it, you know, on the rivers, on the lakes, tidal rivers, in the grass. I've fished it about everywhere. So it seems to be a big fish bait. As far as temperature, you know, I'll start fishing mine as soon as the ice out, and I'll even flip a jig clear up in the summer, so it doesn't really matter. The other trailer I do use pork. You know, I will tell guys, a lot of guys say they don't like to use the pork anymore because of the mess and drying out, but I still use pork. It's just not for cold water. If I like the texture of the feel of that, but I do like it generally in cooler water. Once you get your water temperature up in the 70s, I generally use plastic exclusively. But if the water temperature's, you know, in the mid to upper 60s, down into the 40s, I generally like to use pork. So that's my spiel on the you know, on big flipping jigs. Like I say, I generally use two sizes, 1/2 and 3/8. If I want to slow the 3/8 down, I just go to a bigger chunk and upsize in line. You know, you can slow that jig down. The difference between 20 and 25 pound test line or 17 and 25 pound test line it's going to be a little different in the fall. And when you put the bigger chunk on it, it seems to make it fall a little bit slower. So until next time, guys, hope this helps you out with your jig fishing. Like I said, there's a lot of videos out on jigs. I thought I'd give my spill on mine of what I've used. Been very successful jig fishing. Like I say, I've been doing it a long time. So until next time, guys, y'all take care. Good fishing.